Well, Chris Waller, busy morning at the Rosehill Barrier Trials here. First of all, we'll start with Winx. She looks quite good to the eye. Where is she at in terms of your preparation?
She's carrying about an extra 20 kilos, Brent, which I think is just perfect. She's obviously come back bigger and stronger. It doesn't always mean they're a better and bigger, stronger horse in terms of race performance. So that's the one thing you've got to be a little bit cautious of. Is she big because she's heavy and gross inside and therefore is going to pull up big on race day and stop at the 100 metre mark, or is she improved? It's quite scary to think that she could improve, and probably a trap you don't really want to fall into. You can't improve much from what she is, so we're mindful of that, but she will have a second trial. That'll help her get will help me get another 5 to 10 kilos off her. Then you'll see her starting a prep 10 kilos more than she won a Cox Plate, which I think is close to perfect.
Where are we likely to see her kick off?
Unsure at this stage. I think the main two races we're looking at are the Apollo, which is the Group 2 1400 weight for age race, or the 1300 metre Millie Fox Stakes. That would enable her to run against her own sex. Not that that's that important, but it also gives me an extra week with her. There's a week in between. One's 1300, one's 1400. She's suited to both races. In the Millie Fox, she'd have the top weight with a penalty of being a two-time Group 1 winner, but it's still a little bit more sheltered. So it'll be one of those two races I'd expect. The autumn is such a long period. We've got, especially with a filly like Winx or a mare like Winx, you're expected to have them at their best whenever they go to the races. So we've got to be mindful that she doesn't need to have 5 races before she gets to Queen Elizabeth. She can have 3 or 4, and we've still got to make sure that Queen Elizabeth's her grand final. So that's what we're just looking at. Does she need to be racing against the boys first up 1400? Are we better just finding a nice easy path through to races like the Cornwall,
Queen of the Turf?
Well, they're the same day this year as so there's lots of options. It's a great autumn carnival.
Does a Doncaster come into calculations, or because it's a week prior to the Queen Elizabeth, that sort of will really take that option out of the picture?
I guess the first thing is win whatever race you can run it, but you also look at what do you jeopardise by running them in any race. So first thing about a Doncaster is it's a handicap. So what weight will she get in a handicap? Obviously she won an Epsom close to the minimum, if not the minimum. She might get 2 kilos more than that. She might get the top weight. She might get the top weight too. So look, realistically it depends on what weight they give her, and going through the lines of more Joyous, who was probably had won more Group 1s than Winx had at that stage, and she won a Doncaster with a pretty big weight. So we'll have a look at it, but as you said, it's a week later than you've got the Queen Elizabeth, which is the big prize money race. So look, the beauty of her, she's pretty versatile. She can run any distance she's won from, I guess, 11, 12, 1300 last prep right up to 2040. And she's won at Queens and Oaks over 2200 metres. So she's a pretty versatile horse.
A horse who impressed here at the trials this morning was Start Wondering. Where are we likely to see him go back to the races? Because he was beaten last start but had a few excuses.
Yeah, he got caught very wide, did it tough. I want to start riding him quieter, and that was the reason for this morning's trial. Just switch him off, get him back. And he settled well. Hugh did a great job of getting him to switch off, and came through them late, a bit of confidence, so he'll head to Rosehill on the 30th.
Just in a benchmark race, or is
it not? I think it's a benchmark 93 race. It's just a perfect race.
I thought you might be looking to sneak him into an expressway stakes or something like that.
I just think small fish are sweet, and if he's good enough to win an expressway, he'd be good enough to win 3 or 4 more races somewhere else.
Silver Sands, a recent addition to the stable. She also looked to trial quite well this morning, coming from Adelaide.
Trialled very well. She hasn't raced for a year, and was this morning's trial running on fair type cheap speed. That's what you can often be fooled into trials. I'll give her a second trial. I'll put her in behind them, and see how she finishes off. That'll be a good gauge as to where she heads and whether she's worth following or not.
Last week we saw Press Statement have a very impressive trial, in my opinion, at Randwick. I thought he looked very, very well. Where are we likely to see him next? Is he going to have another trial, or does he go to the races looking nice and fresh?
Probably have another trial, although he's getting close to his race fitness. There's a few options. One is the Eskimo Prince, but that's a set weights and penalties race. He'll have close to 60 kilos. It's a similar scenario to what we saw with Vancouver when he resumed in the spring. It's a big weight. I think from memory, Japonis may have won that race with a lightweight. And yeah, weight stops what stops horses. And again, we've got a reputation to hold. You can't expect them to be at his rock hard fitness first up. We still want him to be at Randwick Guineas, Australian Guineas, wherever we head with him. So it'll either be Expressway, doubtful, Eskimo Prince, possible, or even the Hobartville second up would be first up. Would be possible, yeah. So there's three options. They're the three we're looking at this stage.
Is he a 3-year-old that would stay in Sydney? Like you just mentioned there, there's Australian Guineas, Randwick Guineas, 2 options on the same day. Have you got a preference at this stage?
Preference is to stay at home. It's easier.
Yep.
As soon as there's travel involved, there's a slight element of risk with travel sickness, horses getting out of their comfort zone. Look, he's been to Melbourne and won down there from his only start. I prefer to keep him at home, and then he can go into races like the George Ryder or the All Age Stakes, Doncaster, you name it, it's all here. Look, we did it with Kermadec. We took him to Melbourne, and he still came back and won a Doncaster, but it's not easy. So preference would be stay at home, but he's raced left-handed, right-handed, and one group one races both legs.
He does a pretty good job of it.
It's a good problem to have.
Speaking of Kermadec, where is he at this stage? Is he coming up for the autumn?
Yeah, we're going to keep him to the shorter distances. I thought he struggled to stay the 2,000 metres, obviously in the Cox Plate, and even the lead up to that, he was a little bit soft at the finish. So we'll take a sprinter miler approach with him. Canterbury Stakes, George Ryder, Doncaster.
Plenty to look forward to. Thanks for joining us here on The Punter Show. All the best.
Pleasure.
Thank you.